Hey educators! So today's presentation will be successful tips for beginner educators. Topics we will talk about are topics that I have gotten from my observations, such as tips, what I observed, and the theories that I observed while in observation. The four topics we'll talk about are motivation, assessment, the theories, and the tips I've gotten for future education. Our first topic is motivation. I learned about motivation in how my teacher that I observed kept her kids motivated while doing their work. Three things that she told me were the biggest motivators for her students were rewarding them, showing them that you're proud of them, and giving them extra time doing things they like. So for rewarding them, she would give them M&Ms or Skittles, or they got computer time, or they got to get a car, like a little race car. So she did these things because she had these charts that said first and then. So on her charts, it would be first work and then the reward. So, like a little girl that I was working with, her first was her work, and her reward was M&Ms because she loved M&Ms and Reese's. So, when I got to work with her, she had another chart that goes beside that one that shows what reward they like the most at the very top, and they earned 3 thumbs up to get that reward. So she earned her 3 thumbs up, and then she got her M&Ms. Another student that she was working with he likes little race cars. So at the top was a little race car that he could get, and he earned his 3 thumbs up to get his race car. For her thumbs up, she does different like activities. So once they complete their language arts activity, they get 1 thumb up. When they get done with their calendar time, they get another thumb up if they were participating. So that's just how she rewards them. She also told me showing them that you're proud of them is a very important thing because they're learning new stuff every day. So the little girl that I was working with finally figured out how to use scissors, and yes, she has adaptive scissors, but she learned how to use them, and we had to like congratulate her and show her that was a really good thing. Now you can do it by yourself. You don't need as much help. And then the giving them extra time doing things they like. So every day they go out for recess, and they love recess. They love being outside. They love playing on the playground. So if everybody completes their reward page and gets 3 thumbs up, she'll give them like an extra 30 minutes outside. She'll give them an extra 10 minutes outside, just depending on how their behavior is. So I feel like that is a very good tip to motivate her students. The next topic we're talking about is assessment. What does a student need to be successful, and what types of assessments do we use? This teacher I observed was a general education teacher, and so she had students that got pulled out for testing depending on their IEPs. She also had assigned seating during testing. Her students on a normal day could come in, sit by their friends, sit wherever they want. If she has problems, she moves them. But during testing days, she has assigned seating that she tells them at the first test, and they have to sit there for the rest. The three types of assessments that she uses in her classroom is standardized tests, because she has to, test over material, and embedded questions into her lesson. So the first one, you have to do standardized test per like the curriculum and for all the units that you have to do. Her test over material, she does a test at the end of each week showing what material they went over and how they went over it, and the best, like whoever scores the highest, she motivates the students to score high, and they get rewards after the test. For the embedded questions into your test, she does this thing where she does clicker quizzes, or she does just the quizzes. I think that's what they're called. She uses these to make sure the kids are grasping the concept. So throughout her like PowerPoints, she'll have them get on their computers and use iClicker and answer the questions and go through the PowerPoint with her. It makes it easier on her. So, like, if a student is taking notes, they can take notes and then they can catch back up with her. These are all really good ways to test your students and to make sure that they are grasping the concepts and that they understand what's going on in the class. The next thing we'll talk about is our theories that we get from the two, from motivation and assessments. The first theory is the social cognitive theory. This theory is about motivation. The theory started as the social learning theory in 1960 by Albert, and then was last developed into a social cognitive theory in 1986. This was a really good theory that I matched with motivation because it was motivating the students and motivating the teachers, because sometimes teachers get very down on themselves when stuff's not going the right way. Another theory was the evaluation theory. This was for assessments. This theory was made by Artisan in 2005. It explains that evaluating someone discusses the information that the students complete in a spot of the week, pointing out the information that we need to take more time out of class to discuss and to make sure that all the students are getting the information to the complete. My last point is tips to be a successful educator. These are tips that I got during my observation that I thought were very useful and would help me in the long run. These tips are organization, prepared, motivated, creative, and reasonable expectations. She told me being organized will be the number one priority that you have to have when you become an educator, especially in special education, because everything you send home in paper, you need to have another copy in case they say they didn't receive it. So for her, she has a filing cabinet that has folders for each of her students that have their IEPs in it, their goals, and everything that they need. So when she sends an IEP home for her student, she also makes an extra copy and keeps it for herself, so that if the parent's like, oh, we didn't get that in the IEP meeting, she'll be like, well, I sent it home. And if they say they didn't get it when they sent it home, she has another copy that she can go make a copy and give them a copy. Being prepared for parents, being prepared for other students, being prepared for anything that could happen. Being prepared is another thing she told me that is really important, because if you're not prepared for an IEP meeting, you don't want to go in there and talk just off your butt about about everything. So you want to be extra prepared and very on top of things. To be motivated, because she said that if you're not motivated, you're not going to enjoy your job. You have to be motivated to do the paperwork. You have to be motivated to be with the children every day and actually talk to them and spend time with them and keep them motivated to do their schoolwork. Being very creative, because she said that being creative will help you, because you want your room to be creative. You want all your students to understand the creative concept and to not just be dull. You want them to use color. You want them to be creative. You want them to show you what they know and how they can do it, and not just being very bland and being like, this is what you're going to do, this is how you're going to do it. No, letting a student do it how they want to do it. Reasonable expectations, because you set rules for your classroom, but they have to be reasonable for students, especially students with disabilities. Like, you'll see some students with disabilities won't raise their hand, but that's because that could be something that they don't understand. So you want to be reasonable with your expectations and how you come at your class the first day you talk to them. In conclusion, you have to consider all of these things to be a successful teacher. So keep in mind that you have to take what the students give you and make your classroom seem to be fun. Thank you for listening.